All right. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of our community live calls here on Oneegs.com. We've got a very, very special guest here tonight. But before we get into introducing him and pumping up his tires, I just welcome you guys for being here. We have Chris is on the call. Thanks for being here, Chris. Pamela. G'day, Pamela. Ross Anthony. Andrew is here as well. Daniel. G'day, Daniel. Gemma, Kent, and a few other people joining in. Cleo is there as well. Cam Elias. G'day, Cam. Top bloke you are. Good to see you here on the call, Cam. Tonight, guys, normally I have a little bit of help slaying the trolls as they come in. So I'm going to have to multitask here. I'm going to be troll slaying and interviewing tonight's special guest. Look, he's a local tradesman that we met actually on a job site. And I found out that his partner is also here on the Telegram chat. And then he came to me one day and said, I've got a vision to help our community all around Australia and even all around the world connect to share food, because food security is a big issue. Let's face it, folks, they're trying to poison us. They're poisoning the air, poisoning the water, poisoning the food, and also creating exorbitant prices. And the solution to all of this is obviously community. And combining community with technology. So this is a beautiful vision from the one and only Valentino Costa. How are you, Valentino?
Very well, Dave. Thank you very much for inviting me.
I'll call you Val for short, but yeah, mate.
Thank
awesome.
you. Yep, that's fine.
Awesome to have you here. Give us a bit of a sense of what inspired this incredible vision for the app UForage.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it's always, I suppose, been in the back of my mind ever since a sort of child growing up in a big Italian community, because we sort of grew backyard gardens all the time. But I think the catalyst of change was pretty much COVID really cemented it. And that was obviously due to the food scarcity. I couldn't go into supermarkets because I was told I needed to wear a mask and all this, stuff that sort of just restricted normal everyday humans to shop essential basic needs, which is, food. So after sort of that subsided, I said there's still got to be a better way to pretty much have access to food, because even during COVID, we saw these stupid prices, $11 for an iceberg lettuce, and even Sydney recently, $12 for a small punnet of strawberries. And we're sort of not hijacked, but we sort of like kept in a way that we're forced to, held at ransom, forced to buy high priced food, which is pretty much non-nutritional in the way that it's just, whether it's GMO or whether it's mass produced with so much fertilizer. There's no goodness in it. So me, my partner Tiana, who's one of your biggest fans, said, look, we've got this idea to bring community together, and let's just have an app where we can share and source food. So that was the start of it, and it's been about 2 years now in development, and we've just launched last week. We've still got a bit of hiccups with the developer side of things to get it working correctly. So, but we'll get there, and we've already got 2,000 users, and since last week. So, yeah, the goal of it is basically to share food. So if you're a backyard gardener and got excess food, such like, you can't physically eat that many apples when they ripen, or oranges. So you're like, what do I do with it? It's either they go to the ground and waste, or you try and give them away. So the first aspect is like you can sell food yourself. So it can be a shop front for anyone that has excess food.
So let me just jump in there if you don't mind. So if I'm growing, say I've got a big lemon tree out the back, it's not just barter. I can also sell my lemons.
Yeah. So you can make an extra income. So whatever price, we stay out of it. So we've just created the platform. So it's up to you to set your prices if you want to charge for it, like a nominal fee, or you think these are organic. I put my heart and soul in it. It's better than the $10 lemons at the supermarket, but I'll sell it for $5, or eggs, because
Because I think this is one of the things that started happening, because throughout COVID, the amount of people who started growing food was radical.
Correct.
So many people started. I remember even going to Bunnings and in the harbour and buying seeds because
Yeah.
I was thinking, are we going to be able to feed ourselves? You
Well,
know.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I remember trying to get to the local supermarket, and it was like a freaking Gestapo checkpoint. They wanted me to
Yes.
scan in, wear a mask, and show proof of vaccination. And I said, "You have to be effing kidding me!" I wanted to just
Yeah.
do my shopping, and I had this
Yeah.
19-year-old girl with this. She had a clipboard and sanitizer and a mask, and it was just like, what is going on? So I can see where the
Yeah.
inspiration came from.
Yeah, and that was it. Is like just the food security issues that we're having currently around the globe and wars breaking out. Who knows? But I think the biggest vision we had was, look, if we can solve hunger locally, surely that can replicate and solve hunger globally. Because everyone's trying to find these solutions like GMO wheat with abundance in produce, but I think if we just bring it down, because they've got these massive sort of centers in the middle of the country, which is their ports of distribution. So it might some mangoes or oranges might come from Northern Territory. We get flown or driven all the way half across the country. Then they get flown and driven all the way back up. And the carbon footprint on that alone is just ridiculous. And if petrol prices, diesel goes up and up and up, which it is, obviously that's going to be pushed onto the consumer. So we're just seeing higher and higher prices because of produce that isn't even fresh for a start. And not only that, you can look at meat at the current levels. Farmers are getting $3.50 a kilo.
How is this though, right? They've pushed their prices higher than ever.
Yeah.
Right. They're all making record profits.
Billions.
They're just no different to the banks, right? It's when they push the interest rates up, make record profits, and the little people like us just get smashed.
Yeah.
And then, like when you're saying, you go to get an iceberg lettuce which has zero nutritional content.
Yeah.
And they want to charge you $11 for it.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
What a circus! But this is brilliant because now over the last 3 to 4 years, people have educated themselves. I know a lot of people who are growing something. They might be growing 2 or 3 things, and then just down here in the local community garden, there's an exchange as well.
Yeah,
and it's brilliant. Yeah, go on, tell us more.
No, I was just going to come back to that. Like, the food prices is just currently farmers are getting $3.50 to $4 a kilo for their meat, right? Coles and Woolies, or let's not put names out there, but the big majors are still having record prices when the consumer goes in to buy it. So who's making the money here? The poor farmers or the big chains? And not only that, they've held farmers to ransom for so long because they expect certain types of fruit. For example, if there's a bit of a blemish on an orange, they won't take it. So they've almost made a cucumber farmer recently go bankrupt because a major supplier said, sorry, we can't take your cucumbers because they've just got too much of a little curve. There's nothing wrong with the cucumbers, but they said we can't take it, part of our contract. They're not straight enough, and pretty much bankrupted a farmer. And not only that,
it's the waste of that food though as well. If it's got a tiny blemish.
Well, this is it.
So meanwhile, we've got a homelessness problem and a lot of people malnourished. I remember during the floods how, a lot of people were just living on long life food, couldn't get anything fresh. People were begging for fresh food. And so there's literally thousands and thousands of tons of fresh food being thrown out or knocked back every day. Farmers being crippled. And the cost of just buying this non-nutritional, heavily sprayed, pesticide covered food at top price. You're paying a top price to give yourself cancer. That's radical.
Correct. And look, and also it's not only just because they're not picking because of the prices. It's farmers can't sometimes afford the pickers because we've got a shortage of staff. So there's a labour shortage in Australia for farmers. And they say, I can't afford to pick my crop this year because no one wants to pick apples for whatever it is an hour. So the farmer loses out because no workers coming in. So he just lets it rot, and that's food wastage. There's 2.5 million tons of food wasted in Australia households every year. That's just the households. not farms.
Wow.
But the other thing is during COVID, 2 million Australian households ran out of food. 2 million. They were struggling to find food,
Yeah.
which is just scary statistics. And not only that, 500,000 Aussies, just our own Aussies, are struggling to meet their food needs currently, which is sad.
It doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise me at
Which
all.
is sad. And so the whole purpose of the app is to say, okay, look, what we're going to do is we're going to try and create this app which brings community together. So as we talked about before, it's going to be people who have the ability to grow or even would like to have an online shop or like, I'm going to grow some tomatoes and sell them or get some chickens and sell my eggs. That's fine. So you can have that element on the app. The other element is also free or leftovers. So if you've baked too much lasagna or bread and you're like, this is going to go to waste, I'm going in the kitchen scraps, you can say, hey, I've got this available, pick up whatever times you sort of want to. So it's up to the person to put it out, their details of pickup time or contact me email only or phone this number, etc. And the third aspect is there's that much abundance of food out there in the world, but let's just bring it down locally, that we can eat, but we just don't know about it. So it could be dandelions on the sidewalk. It could be we want to pin, and this is the big thing with the app, is we want people to pin food, produce, or edible weeds wherever they see it. So that means people on the app can go, oh, someone's starving, could go, oh, look, there's some edible weeds there, or there's some a mulberry tree in the park. We please advise we want to promote public places only, not private gardens or nature parks, anything like that. So public places only, which there's abundance of food in public parks. It could be, as I said, a mulberry tree.
And so if I can just jump in there,
Yeah,
Val.
please.
So let's say I've got apples, oranges, lemons, and a couple of chooks.
Yep.
And so as an app user, do I go on there and do I post exactly what I've got to offer, and then do I have my price that I'm selling for, or do I negotiate with other users? What does that look like as a user experience?
Okay, yeah, great question. So basically, you can set you set up like an online platform shop. So you say, I've got this week, that eggs this week and oranges this week. You can say, look, my eggs are organic. I feed them, all natural stuff, and they're $6 a dozen. You set your prices and you set your time that people want to pick up. So whether it's an honesty system that you have out the front, or look, leave your money in the mailbox. A lot of people now are having, the roadside stalls. They're having pay ID versus the honesty box, so people can go, because a lot of people don't take cash anymore, unfortunately. But people can pay with their phones. There's sort of QR codes they scan, and look, the beautiful thing in Australia, the honesty system works well. Obviously there's a few sort of unscrupulous people, but the majority of
it's pretty rare though, isn't it? It's pretty rare. It's that thing that when people are held to account to themselves, they tend to hold those standards high. It's quite interesting. That's like the psychology of that.
That's right. And look, with people being honest, you usually find that they are, versus, if it's $4.90, they'll just throw the $5 in, which is what you'd sort of expect anyway. So being a platform for, like, as I said, Dave, if you've got a little garden that you want to sell, by all means, put it on there and set your parameters of what you have and take some photos and share it. Because that's what it is just letting people know on the app. Instead of driving all the way to, say, a major supermarket, they might find that Beverly down the road has apples. Well, I'll just go to Beverly's house. And it's the networking, it's the interaction, bringing community back together, because we've put up fences in every single suburb and street. We don't know who our neighbours are anymore. And, hopefully this app interacts other like-minded people and brings community back together.
Well, it's amazing how much you learn from anyone who's growing food, because anyone who's growing food has a wealth of knowledge. You usually find that they're switched on with solar. They've got their water sorted out. They're moving towards self-sufficiency. And pretty much anyone who's growing their own food knows what's going on. They're going to be awake to the overall agenda. which is to
Yeah.
push us into smart cities, get us all microchipped and feed us caterpillar sandwiches,
Yeah.
like put us on, make us eat the bugs. that's pretty much where it's headed. So I think that's a really huge advantage to what you're doing as well, because you're right, we don't get to know each other like we used to. And tell me, Val, is it going to be just strictly food, or would it potentially branch out into other services, or would you just cap it at food, like fruit, vegetables, meat and produce and so on?
So we're trying to sort of just get food, the food platform, which includes produce. So like, you can have bread or cakes, anything, but mainly food. We're going to try and get into meat. There's a few loopholes that we got to sort of worry about meat.
So
But
sorry, just to jump in there, you mentioned cakes. Like cakes are something that's a very much a specialty sort of thing, right? So you could have Auntie Betty down the road. Betty makes a great cake, and Betty could be the local birthday cake maker, that sort of thing. So there's the potential for that.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah. So and it
genius.
creates an income for those people too that think, I can't afford a retail shop in town, but the home is where the heart is. That's where the good produce is. That's where great vegetables full of flavor, because if you're growing stuff for yourself, you're going to make sure you've got 100% integrity in making sure that's got the right nutrients. You're going to water it. You're not going to try and use sort of harsh, Monsanto chemicals or anything like that. So you're going to make sure that food is the best for you. So why wouldn't you want to share that with the others and maybe make $1? And I'm saying you don't have to sell it too. You can just give it away if you feel inclined,
Question for you, just playing devil's advocate. Let's say Auntie Betty's cake down the road, she's baked the cake with some bad cream that she didn't know had gone off. And I go buy Auntie Betty's cake. Next minute, I've got bloody food poisoning, whatever. What does that sort of scenario look like? Is there like a common law disclaimer? Is there a private agreement? What does that look like?
Yeah, there would be sort of a disclaimer on as well with sort of both parties. But the onus would be on, I suppose, the provider to make sure they produce the best possible, food that they can. And there's probably going to be chances on that. We're sort of steering away from the mushroom conversation for now, and we don't want. We leave mushroom identification for another app for the time being. But look, at the end of the day, I think people will try and do the best that they possibly can. And the unfortunate thing would be, if someone does get sick, it would be a mishap, and we hope it doesn't happen. But the due diligence should be on the producer of that good to make sure they do.
Yeah, and look, it's what this is the fine line that we walk. It's like, when you go to the third world, or even countries like Thailand or Indonesia, for instance, right? Let the buyer beware. If I'm going to eat off the street, I'm going to make sure I'm aware of where I'm eating. I'm going to intuitively just make that decision. And there's certain countries that we go to that aren't as heavily regulated, so you can enjoy beautiful street food. Someone can just set up on the sidewalk and start cooking. I would take that any day of the week, rather than a heavily regimented, regulated, society whereby you need to have an inspection for this, a safety check for that, a toolbox meeting for that, a certification for this, an inspection for that. It's like, would you just fuck off and let me cook the food, for fuck's sake? You know what I mean? I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. And look, we envision to have a rating system as well, like most platforms, where if Aunt Betty has been baking cakes for 6 months and she's got thousands of reviews, she does the best cakes. You'd steer towards Aunt Betty versus someone that may pop up. But we want to encourage to, showcase and help everyone that might want to sort of get produce out there. So just it's as you said, buyer beware. Look, and we don't want you, if you can't identify a food, like for example, if you're walking down the street and see a red berry and you think, oh, I wonder if this is good, don't, if you don't understand it or don't know about it, don't trust it, sort of thing, until it gets reviewed, because we've got some AI in the background that is trying to identify plants that you take photos of to see if it's edible or not. So there's a background working database in that. And if it's unverifiable, like if you say I can't verify it, or the AI can't verify it, then it goes to a panel of independent verifiers that go, okay, I can see from the photo, the stems and the leaves and the trees that it's this. And that needs to be verified 4 times before it gets ticked to say this is an edible kumquat version of something, you know.
Yeah, got you. And then, and as the app expands and the user base expands, and you have, I guess, cafes, restaurants, vendors, and so on, will it ever
No,
move into that realm at all?
no, we do not want to have anyone with a physical shop front. This is community
Okay.
based only. So we want people that have backyards or homes or sheds, or if they're living in it's just community based only. We don't want to have the profile for shop based people. So, but
Right.
if you do have a shop as well, like say you've got honey, you've got some honey and you provide that to a shop. Um, we're trying to cut that middleman out, because obviously they're paying you a lower price because they've got to pay
Mm.
staff and electricity and that. So you can sell direct from us as well. So we'd encourage you, like if you're selling honey, sell it to the shop as well, by all means. But why don't you just have them picking it up from your premises, or or from your roadside stall at the front, because it saves you driving out, delivering it all. They come to you. That's the whole experience. Is people come to you for your produce. And that's what's good
Gotcha.
about the app. So it's a mobile marketplace for food. So rather than looking in a 5K radius of what's available, like on marketplace, you can just see what's available in my area for food. You might think, oh, there's some eggs, there's some oranges, there's some sourdough. So,
The
and you
milk.
drive there, because currently the roadside stalls is only by that nice romantic drive that you're taking your Sunday driving. Oh, there's some bananas for $2 a kilo, they're cheap, let's get them. And you don't know where they are. So what we want to do is map it
Mm.
all. We want to map all the roadside stalls. We want to map all the food that's currently available, overhanging trees on sidewalks, edible weeds that you can eat, because I didn't know 2 years ago you could eat dandelions, from everything from the root to the stem to the flower. So there's so much information out there that people, are letting us know. And, I don't have the knowledge. There's people out there with so much knowledge to say, you can eat this, and you just boil it for 2 minutes and it tastes like rhubarb, or, tastes like spinach.
Well,
There's so much food out there. So we want to branch into that, and later on, maybe seaweed and foraging for stuff on the beach and the like.
yeah, genius. And as well, Val, like there's such big concern, I'm pretty carnivorous in my diet. I don't eat a lot of
Mm,
vegetables, and I'm always
mm,
looking for good meat. I do eat some veggies and some fruit, but I'm pretty much a carnivorous diet. Now, this mRNA injected meat is a big deal. How do you work around that? Because obviously there's going to be a lot of farmers out there and a lot of livestock producers who I guess they're also aware of the issue of mRNA vaccinated cattle, but they
mm.
probably want to fly under the radar, I'm guessing. Or is that
Yeah,
something that you've already, I guess, spoken to, and then you'd have producers or livestock producers that would say, hey, we're mRNA free, or would that put them on the radar of the Department of Primary Industries and that sort of thing? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, no, that's a really good question, because meat is a very touchy subject.
Mm,
Unfortunately, you can't go to a farm that has meat and buy directly, because there's
right.
legal issues, whatnot, and there are a lot of things that the farmer has to do to sell direct to the public. You can buy like full carcasses, half carcasses, and quarter carcasses, but no one has the ability up to take home like a half a carcass and put it in the fridge. So we're sort of working with a few farmers that possibly, we would like farmers to say, look, we are mRNA free, we're organic. We would like to work with that. But then again, as you said, they might be under the radar, and then it might be hard for them to sell. But I think there's a market for those people to go, you know what, bugger you guys, we'll go direct to the market, not worry about the middleman and the big supermarket chains who are paying $3.50 a kilo for it anyway. Just go straight to the consumer. You'll make more money. You know, even at $20, $30 a kilo, they're making way more money than what the big chains would give them. So we'd hope to have that sort of push, which is, we're still, as I said, we're still in development with talks with a few farmers. So we've got a few that will have some cool rooms in place and the correct abattoir sort of systems and checks and balances. Everything has to be weighed and packaged and scaled. So we're working with a few producers that hopefully get on board where you could be able to go to your direct to the farm gate and get your meat, whether it's, you know, just a T-bone or, you know, a few other cuts and sausages. So it's in the pipeline for meat, not currently sort of launched on it, but it's in the pipeline.
Genius, mate. And we're going to start to wrap up the call because I do want to keep the call to half an hour.
But, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about some of the vision from here. So there's a couple of thousand users already on board. Where would you love to see this in 12 months' time? And what's the big vision?
Well, the big vision is let's retrace. So we got about 2,000 users currently. We're sort of still ironing out the little bugs with the developing that. So bear with us if you downloaded the app. It's UForage. You can go to the App Store, either the Google App Store or the Apple App Store, and download UForage, spelled UForage. Or our website gives you a bit more information on it, uforage.com.au.
In the chat. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, thank you. So we hope to get this more widely, not just in the local food bowl that we're in here. We're sitting in Mount Warning currently. But it's the Northern Rivers is just a beautiful food bowl, rich and abundant of so much good produce. So we want to expand nationally. So that would be great. So if you're traveling somewhere and you think, geez, I don't want to go to the supermarket, or let me just see what's available here. We want that ability to sort of be national wide, but also the big goal is to be global. We want it to be a global app. We want this to be the Airbnb of food, or the Uber of food globally, because I find as well that we want people in, say, for example, the war that just broke out now, in Israel and Palestine. We want, say, for example, like the Palestinians to go, okay, they bombed our supermarkets. Where can I get food? We want that ability for them to go, okay, it's here, or someone's got some food here. We want that, because that just makes it better. So, or the Israelis go, well, we want to find where we can get food. So in those situations, I think it's very beneficial, but also in third world countries as well, where food might not be able to sort of be received. It's like, well, okay, there's food around the corner, because it's as simply as someone pinning food. So if we pin where food is, or, in somewhere, say, like in Thailand, you're driving around and there's a mango tree there, please pin it if you find food in the pub, because that's how the app works. The more pins available or pinning, then that whole community just grows and grows and grows to a point where food is everywhere, because we can feed the world. This is the thing. We can feed the world. People think, it's just too hard. There's too many logistics and that. Well, just think simply. It's just think, locally, and pin it, and then the food is there.
It's so true, Val. It's so true. This world is abundant. It just wants to grow. It just wants to feed. It's actually limitless. And the problem is we just have these monsters in charge who don't know how to manage resources properly, or they just are too greedy to do it properly anyway. And they'd rather us sick and malnourished and try and profit from us that way as well. Crazy.
Yeah.
Mate, absolutely love your vision, love your passion, especially love the community aspect. Just before we wrap up the call, any final words to everyone out there, how they can download the app, just the last reminder, and how they can also spread the word?
Yeah, so jump onto your wherever you get your apps, and just type in UForage. That's spelled UForage, UForage. Download it. and just pin food as wherever you can see it. Whether it's, as I said, some edible weeds on a sidewalk or overhanging mulberry tree, please pin it, so it creates a network of edible food for people that might not have access to. Like, there's so many starving people out there on the streets, and if they're, have access to a mobile device, they'll be able to hopefully eat. So there's that. Just pin the food, get the app, download it, share it, please, with like-minded souls. And yeah, we hope this grows to a big, beautiful thing. And as I said, it's just a platform. It's free to use. We're never going to charge you for it. It's free to download. Maybe one day in the future there'll be maybe a subscription, but I just want it free so people can download and find food, because it's a basic need that everyone should have.
Yep, beautifully said, mate. Love your vision, Val. Love your heart for humanity, for community.
Thank you.
And you know what? Even though I know it's free for now, I hope you make tens of billions of dollars, because you're exactly the sort of person I would love to see filthy rich and helping the world, because you've got a real heart to serve community, mate. We need more people like you out there. Thanks, Val, and thank you to everyone who's been here on the call tonight. We'll upload this to the website at oneegs.com, and we'll do it all again next week. Thanks, Val. Thanks, everyone. Over and out.